Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode, we're going to be checking out a piece by the up-and-coming digital illustrator known as Janouk Veer. This episode, we're going to be talking about this really wide composition here. We're going to talk about the Vaporwave aesthetic, and we're also going to talk about mixed media expression. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, you're not really met face-to-face with this lone feminine statue here, kind of set in center. Certainly catches the eye, and we are also caught by such a wide composition, really necessary to display such a grand scene here. And so we do see a subject set in center, so that certainly catches the eye. Really feels like everything revolves around the center subject, right? Draws the eye inward, kind of face to face, really intimate with the lone subject there as well. We also see kind of form is accented through this dark on light contrast. Of course, you have this backing, or maybe even a light on dark contrast. We do have that darker trim, so maybe a dark on light contrast. Certainly catches the eye, really kind of pops out, and you're not going to miss it for sure. And so in the realm of color, we do have this kind of analogous scheme, of course, with gray on top. So we have this kind of blue, purple, pinkish, a little bit of green as well. Those do work together, of course, really analogous color scheme. All in all, there is also a use of color-based rarity. Of course, we have, most of this work is kind of blue, green, purple, but we do have a bit of that rare, of course, stone in the middle. It's going to catch the eye due to that rarity. And so we see this really cartoon aesthetic here, right? It is very light. We see these kind of light and fluffy clouds in the background. It feels very playful. It feels very positive as well. It doesn't feel dark by any means. We have this really light backing. We have these, kind of pastel colors. We have this bright pink, this bright blue. It certainly catches the eye in a very positive piece for sure. And so it's really interesting, right? We see a near-symmetrical spatial composition. So, of course, our subject is set in center. There is a bit of deviation. Of course, we have the moon set on the left, so that does deviate a little bit. But all in all, it feels like a very balanced visual experience, right? A near-symmetrical spatial composition is going to feel harmonious. You have kind of mirrored placement on either side. This, of course, is mirrored across a vertical center axis. And so there is, this kind of ionic pillar that we see in the background. We do see a little bit of the base, so we can infer that it is an ionic pillar here. But all in all, of course, to create an ionic pillar or something like that, it's going to take a lot of resources. So we see a bit of the kind of Greco-Roman influence of the Vaporwave aesthetic. This is very common, and we see this quite a bit. And so we do see, of course, the bust of our subject. It really draws us face to face with our subject set in center. It's going to feel quite intimate. She's not looking directly at us, but we are very, very close up. Of course, it kind of reminds of the classic format of the portrait. So that is going to bring you face to face and, of course, emphasize the kind of humanity of the subject before us. All very important when we're looking at this work. And so what you'll also notice are a bit of emojis throughout the work at hand, right? So we see, some emojis here, mirrored on the other side, and I believe a moon emoji as well. This is quite interesting. Of course, that really points to the accessibility of the digital age, right? We have access to these instant kind of emojis that we could add onto the work at hand. But what I think is really interesting, of course, this is a digital illustration, but the artist, by incorporating some of these emojis, makes this a mixed media piece. So I think that's really interesting as well. People would point to this and wouldn't say, oh, that's mixed media, but technically is, incorporating some emojis and different things like that. So is mixed media all in all. You really see the unique expression of that. Of course, if we didn't have these hearts up top, it wouldn't really catch the eye. They would feel a little bit barren. Certainly a really welcome addition for sure. And so we also see this grid here, really common with the Vaporwave aesthetic, and it just kind of goes off into the distance. Kind of reminds of kind of early digital rendering programs, if y'all know what I'm talking about in the 90s. Of course, the Vaporwave aesthetic is always trying to point back to early technology, maybe even a nostalgia for an earlier time as well. So that grid does certainly remind of that kind of retrowave aesthetic. And so, like I said, the Vaporwave aesthetic often incorporates scenes of kind of Greco-Roman culture. You see scenes of surrealism at times. Of course, we have this subject set in here with this kind of endless scape, a little bit surreal here. We normally see pastel tones as well, or a neon color palette. So all in all of these are really fit in that aesthetic. A really nice Vaporwave piece for sure. If y'all enjoyed this piece, go check out the original artist. Like I said, always doing some really good stuff here. Janouk Veer, really nice kind of digital illustrator, really working with their aesthetic, trying to find their style. So all in all, really nice work. I hope y'all enjoyed today. People really hop in this kind of Vaporwave trend, but I think the artist does this quite masterfully. So like I said, this is a digital illustration. So if y'all want to create this, of course, you're going to be drawing on a screen, multiple layers. You also have the undo button, very important feature as well. But I hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked a little bit about near-symmetrical harmony. We talked about, placement in the center. We talked about the root to the Vaporwave aesthetic, emojis as kind of a mixed media expression, a lot of different things we covered today. So I hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all did, go check out the original artist, Janouk Veer. Like I said, always doing some really good stuff. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Polar Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.